Join us and unwind with a good book. Welcome to Relaxing Reads.
I'm Anne from the Morning Breeze in New Glasgow.
I'm Deb from the Morning Breeze in Halifax.
And I'm Simone from Breeze Afternoons in Vancouver and Edmonton.
Well, Toronto author Ashley Audrain has been having a pretty amazing year. She's been getting worldwide recognition for her debut novel, which was released back in January. It quickly topped bestseller lists around the world. And that bestseller is this month's book, The Push. A tense, page-turning psychological drama about the making and breaking of a family, told through the eyes of a woman whose experience of motherhood is nothing at all what she hoped for and everything she feared. Now, we'll catch up with Ashley, the author, in just a bit. And I think we should add a disclaimer. We may have a few spoilers along the way. So let's dive in, ladies. What did you think about this book? Simone, start with you.
Oh my gosh, so good. I remember you read it before me, Anne, and you had said, I couldn't put it down. So I was so excited. But in the beginning, it took me a little bit. Like, I was enjoying it as I was going. But definitely when I got to kind of the middle of the book, it picked up speed for me. And then I could not put it down right till the end.
And Deb?
I'm the same way. I took a little slow lead into it, but wow, as soon as I started getting through it, it was like I couldn't turn the pages quick enough. And my gosh, there were just so many emotions with all the characters. And I was feeling a bit overwhelmed when I finished that very last page, when I closed the book.
And I felt the same way too. I wanted to reach out to you both and go, oh my gosh, you'll never believe the ending of this book. But I knew that you were still going through it. And I didn't want to have any spoilers out there. So I'm glad we're all ready to go with this. And we've read it from start to finish. So let's get started with some topics for discussion. In the book, Blythe struggles with feelings of inadequacy as she fails to live up to the perfect ideal of motherhood. So a bit of a layered question here. How do you think societal pressures contribute to those feelings, and what kind of burden does that place on women? Deb, I'll start with you on this one.
Well, I am not a mother, but I certainly felt I think a lot of from knowing my own mother, my sister who's a mother, my friends, my cousins, and colleagues, I felt like I might know the emotions or what could be the emotions of going through motherhood and the pressures, because, wow, we have so many expectations of what a mother can do because we recognize the strength in a mother and recognize that she can multitask like nobody else. But with those days where mom can do everything, we also, I think society looks at mom and thinks, well, you can't do any wrong. You've got to keep doing what you've been doing. So it just keeps putting more pressure. And I'd mentioned overwhelming. And just thinking about what mothers go through and reading this book, I felt, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could have been a mother.
And Simone, you are a mom, so I'm interested to get your take as well.
Yeah, I'm a mom of 2 boys, and I remember just a lot of things just really stuck out with me. And it's sometimes the judgment and just yourself feeling so inadequate. I remember with me when I had my first, just not knowing what to do, and when your child acts a certain way and then you try to deal with it, and then people come at you and say you're not, raising them right, or you should do this. There's always people with so many suggestions. And I remember just one day feeling defeated because obviously you want to be the best mom you can be, and that's what I think Blythe felt like in this book. But then you're faced with challenges. And I remember one day just coming home because I would get advice from this person and that person, and my husband just looked at me and said, listen, this is our child. Obviously, we are going to do everything that is the best for this child. So forget what people say and let's raise this kid the way we want to raise them. And I think by the second kid, I was just so over it. And it's like, you know what? This is how I'm doing it. Because as a mom, you're going to just do the best you can. And sometimes it's not like the other moms. Like, I'm not the mom who constantly is baking and, doing all these crazy things and crazy adventures with my kids. But I'm there for them, going to the sports games and doing other things. So I think you can't compare yourself to other moms. You just got to do you. And your kids, as long as they know they're loved, you're doing a great job.
It's interesting that you mentioned feeling judged, because I felt like that in my 20s. I thought, well, when I get to my 30s, I'll feel like having kids. And it never kicked in for me. I made the decision in my early 30s that I was not going to have children. Now, I've been blessed to have two amazing stepdaughters come into my life, and they've got a fantastic mom, and I'm so thankful to be a part of their lives in the way that I am. But I can relate to it in a way with the pressure to have kids. Blythe feeling that pressure, like it's the inevitable next step and something that you should want. And having been there in that position, not having that feeling like I wanted to take that step in my life, it wasn't so much, I guess, society putting the pressure on, because people would ask from time to time, but I didn't feel much pressure other than what I would put on myself. I felt like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I want to have children? Why am I not feeling that way? But I guess, everybody goes down their own path. And it was just interesting to read through Blythe's journey and what she went through, and really honest and raw about what it was like to be a mom. And it was just interesting to see it in this way, because typically you just see the warm and fuzzies. This was really, really raw, all out there. So the theory of inherited trauma, that we carry the scars of past generations, is explored through Blythe's mother and grandmother, who struggled in similar ways to her. How much do you think we carry forward from the experiences of the generation before us? And is it possible to break the cycle completely? So, Simone, start with you.
You know what? I think we do carry a lot. When we're growing up and we're in this world and we start to pick up those young memories, I think when you're 4 or 5 and the people around you, you're definitely affected by things. And whether that's your mother and your grandmother and the relationships they have with the other people around them. And that's kind of, I think, how you learn, because you're kind of mimicking what you see your mom doing. And, again, like I said, what her relationship is like with her mom and stuff like that. So I think it does get ingrained in you, but it's also a chance for you to say, okay, this is what I liked, something that my mother did with me, and this is what I want to carry forward. These are the things I want to change and work to be better at. And when it comes to kind of that cycle, like sometimes I think if you've gone through a lot of heavy stuff and have a lot of scars, it can take time to break that cycle, and you probably need to work on yourself quite a bit to get there.
And what about you, Deb?
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Simone. I think about my grandmothers. One had 14 kids, the other 16 or 12 and 14.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, incredible. So I look at what they went through, and some of the, great hardships, and losing children as well. But because they had such big families that they had to keep moving forward and just keep on for the children who've been left behind, even though they went through some, tough times. But I think, wow, they just kept mothering. They just kept moving, but there was never time for mom or how are you doing? Are you going to be okay? There was community support and, extended family support. But I think the mothers who came out of those grandmothers, the daughters, the granddaughters, they've done very well, but I think they've also recognized that, we had strong women in our lives who did really well with their children, their families, but they never gave themselves that time. And I think that's where some of the women in my family have recognized, wow, it took some time to recognize that it's okay to not be that storybook mother or have that perfect setting and make it look like, no, we're okay. We can do this on our own. So yeah, I think that you do carry that along, and it definitely is, possible to break the cycle, but it might be a little difficult for some, and it might take a lot more time.
I think mentors as well are so important. I really liked the character of Mrs. Ellington, the neighbor. She was such a formative force for Blythe, like with everything going on at home and having her there and just showing her what it could be like. And so I think that even though Blythe did have so much trauma in her life, she often thought about those moments with Mrs. Ellington and what it meant to her. So I'm a big proponent of mentors, and I'm involved heavily in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. So I love that character in the book. I thought she was really awesome and showed Blythe what a world could look like with a caring mother type in it. So it was nice to see.
Definitely. And now is probably a good time for us to bring in the author of The Push. Let's welcome Ashley Audrain. We're so excited to be chatting with you, and we've got a few questions here.
That's great. Thank you. And thank you for choosing the book for your May book club. That's so nice to hear. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, we loved it.
We are all fans, big fans.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much.
So Anne, did you want to start with yours?
Sure. Hi, Ashley. Loved the book. Loved it. Could not put it down.
Thanks, Anne. Oh, thank you so much.
You started writing this book when your son was 6 months old. How did your own experience of motherhood inform this story?
Yeah, so you're right. I did start writing when he was 6 months old, which now in hindsight seems a bit crazy to me, I have to admit. But at the time, I think I guess my own experience of motherhood, was really that there was this big difference between how I think society teaches women they should feel about motherhood, how we should act as mothers, even what we're supposed to say about motherhood. All of that expectation felt so different than what the experience was really like. And I could see that, in my own experience and in the experience of, friends and women around me. And that really struck me as, so interesting that, we have come so far as women in society in so many ways. And yet this, deep expectation about motherhood hasn't really changed much, over the decades, interestingly. And I wanted to explore that through fiction. I really wanted to write through those expectations and what would happen in one woman's journey if motherhood turned out to be, nothing like what she hoped and everything she always feared. I mean, Blythe's experience as a mother in this book is sort of a culmination of, many of the greatest fears that I think we all have as mothers. So I think that's sort of how my own experience sort of informed the characters and the plot of this book.
Well, it's interesting, Ashley, because every time I get into a book, as I did with yours, and cannot put it down and absolutely love it, I always think, oh my goodness, I hope this is made into a Netflix movie or something. And UK producer David Heyman won the bid to produce the novel for screen, your novel. So any updates you can share with us? When can we see this?
Oh my gosh, yes. I also do the same. I totally relate. When I read a book too, I always think, oh, I'd love to watch this, on the screen somehow. And so the fact that this, is being adapted for screen is just, blows my mind every day. It's incredible. I feel so grateful for that. And yes, it will be adapted by David Heyman's team, the wonderful producer. And I think this will just be, I'm really excited to see this in their hands. It's going to be a limited television series. As opposed to a movie. So, hopefully, 6 or 8 or so episodes to tell the story of the push, which I'm really looking forward to. And I think it'll be quite fun to see it all come alive. I don't really have any updates to share right now, except that it does seem to be moving along, which is great. So I'll keep my fingers crossed on that.
Me too. I need a new series to binge watch, so I'll keep an eye out for it. Thanks so much, Ashley. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's actually one of the things my husband said. He's like, oh, wow, you can't put that book down, because I was reading it in the living room, and he said, and I was kind of giving him the Coles notes on it, and he's like, that should turn into a movie. I was like, it's funny that he had that thought too, because, it was good.
It's good.
Looking back at one of your past interviews, you said you didn't think anyone would read your book. Why did you kind of have that thought? Is that just kind of from being an author, or was there something else about the way the story was going to be put on paper that you thought that way?
Yeah, I think while I was writing the book, I worked on it for, 3 years or so, 3 or 4 years, including all the edits and everything. And, I think that I always, there's something about being, wanting to be a novelist and sort of giving a go of your first book. And I mean, it really doesn't feel like anyone will ever read it. You really feel like you are just writing for yourself in a way. And that's, I think, probably what I meant by that is just really, I mean, for all of those years, you don't have any readers, and you're really just writing the book that you really want to write, and you're telling the story that you really want to tell. And it's very easy, to let go of those expectations of readers and, what you think people want to, pick up and what's selling in the marketplace. And I think because this book is so, this is a book about motherhood. It's a book about motherhood and marriage and the taboos with those. And And I think I always just felt like it was just my own story, like my own little, not my true story, but, the story that was inside of me to tell. And so it really does feel remarkable to me now that the book is out there and so many people have read it. It feels quite surreal. Yeah.
Now, with the book, obviously being about motherhood and marriage, like you said, I'm a mother of 2 boys. So the relationship between Blythe and Sam was just so beautiful to me, and also so heartbreaking, because as a mother, it takes you to the place of, what if something ever happened to my child? And I couldn't relate as much to, the relationship with the daughter. Now, many times us moms look to other moms or our moms to help give us advice. With your journey and motherhood, what's the best advice you've received?
Oh, yeah. To be honest with you, I think the best advice I ever got was, don't listen to advice. In a way. And I think that is good advice, because everyone's experience is so different. And I mean, I certainly could experience that in my own version of motherhood. And, I'm lucky that I have very close relationship with my mom. She's wonderful. And she's been so involved in raising my kids, and especially helping them with them when they were little. So I was lucky that way. But, I really think that motherhood is one of those spaces where we always want to give advice. I think as a mother, it almost makes you feel better to give other mothers advice or to give soon-to-be mothers advice. It's just kind of part of that motherhood culture. And in a way, sometimes I think if your experience, falls outside of the norm, if you have an experience of motherhood that does not fit that very typical common narrative, that we talk about, it can feel quite isolating and quite lonely, I think. And so I think some of my best advice about motherhood is also just, don't worry so much about, what everyone says it should be like. Everyone's journey is going to be different.
Yeah, and obviously as a mom, you're always trying to just do the best you can and love your child. So at the end of the day, that's kind of the only thing that matters outside of some of the other things you're judged on.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You're right.
So, Ashley, I don't know if you set out to do this, but I think that your book could be somewhat of a self-help book. I think it's a great chance for a lot of people to come together, not just moms and their girlfriends, the women in their lives, but, the guys as well, the men in their lives. A great discussion about women have to do so many things. They go through so many changes in their lives, whether it's, with their own body or, with their children, with themselves. The expectations are so high, so there's not really a lot of room for failure. But I think it just opens up the discussion to be more open and honest about what's going on.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you. Yes, I think the most surprising part about publishing this book, and something I just didn't see coming or expect as part of the experience, is really hearing from readers, of all kinds and all different circumstances, reaching out to say, something along those lines, like how the book has helped them in their own experience of motherhood or in their relationship, or also in their own relationship with their mothers. This is very much also a book about sort of the mothers we come from, in the history, sort of the maternal history that we carry, whether we want to or not, and how that can give us anxiety or feel like something that we want to change but we don't know how. And so, since the luck, I've heard actually also from expectant fathers or new fathers, who have emailed me or messaged me to say, I'm not in this world. This world is so unfamiliar to me, but they will now have different conversations with their partners than they would have before reading the book about, the honest parts of motherhood and how it can really feel and what it can really be like. And that is so meaningful to hear as a writer, for sure.
And can we expect a follow-up? I mean, we're looking forward to it hitting the screen, but how about a follow-up book?
Yeah, I'm working on a second novel now, but it's not a sequel to The Push. So I know I do, without giving any spoilers, I do leave a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of this. I've heard a lot from readers about, what happens next and, people wanting to know. And I don't know if I have all those answers, but so I there's no sequel coming. I'm working on a second book that's, a different plot and different characters, although it does touch on a lot of the same themes.
Okay. But I guess, what, it's best that way, because you gave a lot to each of the characters, and no matter where they stood with your readers, I think there was a lot going on with each one of them, so you could empathize with them on some level.
Thank you. Thank you. That's nice to hear. Yeah, I think there's, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of opinions about, the main characters in this book and people loving them or hating them or, feeling somewhere in between. And yeah, it was important to me that, no matter how you feel or what side of the fence you're on in this story, that you have empathy for sure. So that's nice to hear. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
How I sounded in the last page, Ashley. I was like, and that's how I ended with the book. Yes. That was I was like,
I've had
what?
Say that I know. I've had so many people message me on Instagram or send me like an email or something and just having just finished the book saying, how could you?
I thought about it for days after. I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, thank you for a wonderful book.
Thank you.
It was lovely chatting with you, Ashley. Thanks so much.
Oh, that's wonderful. This was so great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. If we could do a virtual hug, that's what I kind of felt like somebody needed after I finished reading. Because it's like, I don't know who needs a hug, but somebody does, so I hugged myself.
Oh, good.
And a glass of wine.
And a glass of wine.
So true. I know. It makes for a good book club discussion for that reason alone, the wine.
That's for sure.
Definitely.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a wonderful discussion with Ashley. Oh my goodness. So much to unpack with this book. And going back to the main character of Blythe, who says of her early relationship with Fox, I had nothing when I met you, and you effortlessly became my everything. What did you think about the quality of their relationship from the outset? Is there something dangerous as well about a love so all-consuming and addictive? So, Simone, we'll start with you.
I think there is something dangerous about that because, I think it's nice to be lovey-dovey. It's nice to want to do everything for your partner. But a lot of the times, like even you see, you read this in the book where she's like, you wanted this, you wanted me to be this way. And I think it's surrendering yourself to, be the kind of person your partner wants you to be, where it can get a little bit dangerous because it seemed like a lot of things she was doing because he wanted. And I think in a partnership, you kind of have to come at it together. And as you grow together, like we saw in this book, you do grow apart, things change. And especially when you throw kids into the mix. I tell people this about my own relationship. We were never the kind of couple that was always all consuming. But as soon as you have kids, then you play into, again, like how you parent each child because you were parented differently. And there was room for those challenges to come up. So I think if you give yourself too much to someone and you don't kind of stand your ground on a lot of things, then it becomes a challenge. And even with Blythe, he was great at comforting her, but when she was going to him with concerns and stuff, he just brushed them off. And I think when you're kind of just in that, when your partner doesn't kind of see that in you, I think that's definitely a red flag and definitely dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. She certainly was looking to him for something. Please acknowledge it. And she never did quite get that. And Deb, you're a single lady on the dating scene, as far as I know. I think you are. And I'd be interested to know what you think of this. Is this an all-consuming love that you would be interested in having?
Well, it's funny because there have been a couple of relationships where they were more into it than I think I was. Not that I didn't appreciate what was going on at the time, but there were times where it felt uncomfortable and okay, there's not much breathing room. Okay, I get it. You admire me. I admire you. This is wonderful. But you get to a certain point. I didn't, not like that. But I think that there could be a little bit of a danger zone where, oh my gosh, who am I now? Where is my identity? Whatever happened to that? Who have I become? But when you see that type of a romance on the screen, like in a, some wonderful movie, and it seems quite beautiful, but when you dissect the relationship, I don't know how great it actually is if you don't, if you're not equal on that.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on, I think.
It sure does.
Yeah, and it seems almost doomed to fail, as she could never really live up to the unrealistic relationship expectations that she's even built up in her head, and what Fox really, I guess, expects of her to be without really having that back and forth conversation to sort things out. So it was interesting to see how it played out, and I guess I don't want to. I feel like I'm worried people haven't finished the book, but anyway, they break up. So there you go. Spoiler alert. Were you surprised by the nature of Blythe and Gemma's relationship? Even though it was based on a lie, do you think there was real friendship and understanding there? Deb, we'll start with you.
Yeah, sadly, I think, it was a real friendship. And initially I was a little concerned, like, oh, how is this going to unfold? Oh no. And then the more you learned about their relationship, I thought, oh gosh, this is like, I felt for both of them because I truly did believe that they needed each other and that they created this great friendship, despite it being based on a lie.
And Simone, what do you think?
You know what? I really enjoyed their relationship. And I felt like if this was me, I would do something similar. Like when your partner, if your partner is cheating on you or has moved on, you're so curious when there isn't really a valid reason as to why they strayed and why, like, who is the new person they chose? How do they, equate to what you're like? So with her, just from anything from her being a mom and in her 40s and feeling a certain way about her body and everything she's been through, to seeing this new woman your partner is with who's young and she's blonde and she seems to have everything going on for her, that curiosity definitely spikes. And it was also her way of getting answers, because she wasn't getting it from Fox and she needed to know, because she said every time I asked him about it, he didn't say a thing. So as a woman, you need closure. And I think Gemma was giving her the closure she needed. And then when the friendship was there, she, in fact, I think really started to care for her more than just like a mistress. It was like, I need to tell you about things that may happen. She really wanted to be there for her. So in that way, like, I see Blythe was a good person and she was trying to help. And so I think, in the end, she did care obviously a lot more for her than Gemma cared back.
Well, I agree, and it felt very real, although Blythe was hiding her identity, like literally wearing a wig and hiding. But I don't think she was hiding who she was, if that makes any sense. Like she was still everything, well, I guess, who she wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And as you say, was able to get some information that she needed to find out, and also send along a few warnings, which is why the book ended like
how it did, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess on that note, honestly, I can say this book club so far, every book that we've read has been awesome and different, and just gone through a lot of emotions, and I don't know, like I feel very lucky to be a part of it. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I feel the same way, feeling out all the emotions right now.
Oh, we definitely are. And again, thank you for listening to our discussion today.
Thank you.
Thank you for kicking back and relaxing with us. We hope you'll join us again on Relaxing Reads.